Live from Alabama's news leader, this is ABC 3340 News at 10.
Day breaks with a fiery crash as a UPS cargo plane slams into a field near Birmingham-Shuttlesworth International Airport. 2 pilots killed, debris scattered everywhere. Nearby residents concerned.
You never imagined that a plane would crash less than a mile away from your house.
The National Transportation Safety Board hits the ground running to start its investigation, methodically going through the debris to determine the cause of the crash. From the ground and in the air, we have full coverage of the crash of Flight 1354. Good evening. I'm Dave Baird.
And I'm Brenda LeDunn. Thanks for joining us for the news at 10. Here's the very latest on the crash. Members of the National Transportation Safety Board say they will be at the crash site at daybreak tomorrow. That's when they'll begin collecting perishable evidence. The FBI will help document and diagram wreckage. Preliminary reports indicate that the pilot and co-pilot did not make any distress calls prior to impact. Sources say the flight crew did not indicate any problems before the crash at all. Earlier this evening, the NTSB had a news conference officially launching its investigation into what caused this morning's crash.
Now, ABC 3340 Sherry Evans was there for the news conference. She joins us now live with the latest. And Sherry, what's next for this investigation?
Well, for the next few days, the NTSB will continue gathering information. Lights have been put up, allowing crews to continue working and looking at the site. Now, the NTSB will be looking for the cockpit voice recorder as well as the flight data recorder. They'll be looking at everything from basically the plane structure to weather conditions. Several hours after UPS Flight 1354 crashed, people packed this road a few hundred yards from the scene to see what they could of the devastation.
I haven't been home all day, so this is my first time coming out. My daughter had, contacted me and told me, Mama, you got to come and see the wreckage, so I came up.
Deborah Harris says she heard the plane go down.
And it was like a big boom, and it shook my house. And then it wasn't too long later, I heard a second boom.
The National Transportation Safety Board says there's a lot to be done. Thursday morning, 26 GO team members and the FBI's evidence response team will collect data and document wreckage to figure out why the cargo plane crashed, killing both pilots on board.
Our goal is to find out not just what happened, but more importantly, why it happened, so that we can keep it from happening again.
The NTSB could not retrieve the black boxes Wednesday afternoon because the tail was still smoldering.
When we get those recorders, we will be able to know fairly precisely what that aircraft was doing.
Along with finding those key pieces of evidence, investigators will be going back to the initial impact zone to see what's there. They will also be looking at whether the precision path indicator lights near runway 18 were inoperative.
We will be looking at that. We'll be seeing what condition the airport facilities were in, the navigational aids. We'll be looking at all of that.
Other inquiries will include getting a transcript of communication between the pilots and air traffic control, and they'll see if any surveillance video was recorded at the Birmingham airport. Now, I tried to get more information on this runway tonight, but a spokesperson for the Birmingham Airport Authority did not return my call. Now, we also learned tonight that the NTSB will be looking at maintenance and pilot training records within the next few days. Reporting live in Birmingham, Sherry Evans, ABC 3340.
All right, Sherry, thank you. Well, 2 pilots died in the crash of UPS Flight 1354. One of the victims has been identified as 37-year-old Shanda Fanning. She was a co-pilot on the plane. Fanning is from Shelbyville, Tennessee. The Airbus A300 cargo plane was en route from Louisville, Kentucky to Birmingham when the crash happened. A family friend says that Fanning loved being a pilot.
The biggest thing I'll always remember about Shannon is her absolute passion for flying. When most young people dream of their first car, she had an airplane. She loved flying. She managed the Shelbyville airport for a while.
Fanning leaves behind a husband. The pilot's name has not yet been released.
I'm James Spann back in the Weather Center. Temperatures feeling pretty good across the state tonight. Fort Payne up into Cobb County down to 64. Some of the cooler pockets up here might reach the upper 50s by daybreak. The air is dry over the northern half of the state and the sky is mostly clear. Let's go to our Skycam network tonight. This is our Skycam in Birmingham looking back over toward the Birmingham airport. 73 at the Daniel building. The rain total this morning was 19/100ths of an inch. Tropics are very active. We'll take a look at that and have the 7-day planning forecast coming up in just a bit. Brenda.
All right. Thank you, James. As the city of Birmingham woke up this morning, they had to deal with the shock of a plane crash where 2 people lost their lives. Then the horror of how there could have been a greater loss of life on the ground. Today, I talked to neighbors near the crash site north of the airport who spent the day in disbelief, then counted their blessings.
Oh, man, that is just awful.
Janetta Henderson lives close to the crash site. Too close.
Oh, how close that was to my house.
She and her neighbors are in disbelief. The crash happened here in this field that used to be a place to play when Harrietta Jones was young.
Where the plane is now, it used to be our baseball field. You know, they building into a hill, but it used to be flat.
That's the tail section down there.
Jefferson County Commissioner and EMA Vice Chair Joe Knight toured the wreckage.
The firemen is still smoking. The engines are sitting there on top of the hill. It just broke apart.
There are more questions right now about the cause of the crash, but as NTSB investigators scour the landscape for clues and the Alabama power workers try to repair the torn lines from the crash, people in the area are beginning to count their blessings.
I'm like right there, like right over there. If it had been a little bit further down, it would have hit my house.
Airplane went over the tree in front of the house and then it hit in the back right over the house. And to me, that's the grace of God.
Blessed, blessed, blessed. That's when I am blessed.
Absolutely. And you heard in the story that the wreckage is still smoldering. Firefighters are watching it tonight. It's procedure to allow the jet fuel to burn off instead of allowing it to seep into groundwater or try to move it.
Well, Birmingham city leaders, as you saw, were on the scene today surveying the damage and reassuring neighbors. The crash happened in the district of Birmingham City Councilor Maxine Parker. She says the Birmingham Airport Authority bought most of the surrounding property, leaving behind only a few houses. Although neighbors complain about the noise, Parker says this is the first time she's heard about low-flying planes.
Seeing it firsthand, it was how close. It's close, and this is very close to our home.
Parker says officials with the Birmingham Airport Authority will meet with residents in the area after the NTSB completes its investigation. Tuscaloosa's air crash crew says it always thinks about procedures when a plane like the one in Birmingham goes down. Although the UPS jet did not crash at the Tuscaloosa airport, firefighters at Station 12 say that they are on standby ready at a moment's notice. Specialized trucks are equipped with more water and foam than normal fire trucks. Firefighters also wear special suits to deflect the heat.
Fires involving aircraft have a almost totally different set of rules than they do in a structural firefighting. One of the most important things is you always have fuel. There's always a hazardous material incident. And so you're always going to have something that's hazardous and going to be a lot of heat and usually a lot of flames.
The Tuscaloosa airport fire trucks are similar to those in Birmingham. They also carry dry chemicals that can help extinguish metal and fuel fires.
A UPS cargo plane was involved in this morning's crash. Here are a few facts about the company's air operations. It's headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky. It also has 235 UPS jet aircrafts. That number includes 53 Airbus A300 like the one involved in today's crash. And UPS added the Airbus aircraft to its fleet back in 2000. The planes are known for their low emissions and fuel-efficient features. Well, from interviews to scene video and up-to-the-minute updates on the crash, stay with ABC 3340 on the air and on the web. You can also go to our abc3340.com or our Facebook or Twitter pages for the very, very latest. And the search for a city manager in Anniston may be over. We'll explain.
Plus, one woman is in jail, another out on bond, charged with chemical endangerment of a child. You're watching ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.
I've got the full forecast coming up on ABC 3340 News at 6 o'clock. That starts now.
Live from Alabama's news leader, this is ABC 3340 News at 6.
Was it a fair race? A Tuscaloosa BOE incumbent raises the question after falling short on electoral votes.
Plus, a dog picked up by Birmingham Animal Control dies before it reaches the shelter. Now its owner wants answers.
And celebrating dreams 50 years later, thousands pay tribute to the March on Washington. Good evening. I'm Brenda Lidda.
And I'm Dave Baird. Thanks for joining us on the news at 6. There are allegations that someone bought student votes to influence a school board race in Tuscaloosa. Incumbent Kelly Horwitz narrowly lost her seat to Kason Kirby in District 4. Now, he's a former UA SGA president. An email has surfaced that Horwitz is questioning the integrity of the election. ABC 3340's Isaiah Harper has more.
As voting machines from Calvary Baptist Church were loaded, there are questions now about the ballots that were cast here Tuesday, specifically the District 4 race between Kelly Horwitz and Kason Kirby.
We knew going into the election that there were registrations that raised our eyebrows.
Horwitz is talking about this house. 11 University of Alabama students listed this address to register to vote. No one here would talk. And then yesterday, this email was sent to some Greek students and offered them free drinks in exchange for their vote. One student who received it talked to this UA professor.
She was incensed that she felt they were trying to buy her vote. She had been sent an email by an executive member of her sorority who knew who all the registered voters were. They had a list.
Professor Christopher Land happened to also be one of Horwitz's campaign workers. They all say there was an unusual number of students voting.
Dozens of students coming on foot, a steady stream of students throughout the day.
I think the number was about 80% of the registered voters were university students. So,
after claiming victory last night, Horwitz's opponent said he had no association with anyone trying to influence the vote in his favor.
My campaign has been working hard. We were committed to winning, but we were committed to winning fairly, and I think that's what we did.
But Horwitz says she doesn't intend to concede just yet.
And I don't want to jump to conclusions or point fingers until I can look at all the evidence.
In Tuscaloosa, Isaiah Harper, ABC 3340.
Now, Horwitz has not yet filed an official contest of the election, but she has not ruled that out.
Now, the people of Birmingham have spoken. 6 out of 9 districts in the city's Board of Education will have new representation. ABC 3340's Edward Birch is in the newsroom right now. And Edward, you spoke with some of the new faces today. What do they hope to bring to this new board?
Well, Brenda, I spoke with Sandra Brown and Randall Woodfin, both of whom tell me the governance issues within the board prompted them to run. They say it is a new day for Birmingham City Schools.
The whole entire community rejected this whole idea of bad leadership.
I feel that the people of Birmingham has finally come to life.
Sandra Brown of District 9 and Randall Woodfin of District 5 says the election proved that parents wanted to be heard.
It has to be a new day. Look how many new board members you have.
Both candidates received training from the state that focused on board governance, ethics, and finance. They believe they are ready to take on their new role. April Williams from District 8 is one of the 3 candidates who kept their seats. She says she's ready to work with the new members.
Moving from probation to clear, we will be a better, stronger school district.
Dr. Ed Richardson, the state-appointed chief financial officer, says in order for the board to be effective, they have to work as a team.
I would think that you're going to see this new team come together, orient, start to work together, focus on the major objectives, and hopefully you'll see some real progress. You have new players come in on your team, and they have to blend in.
Now, all the new board members will have to go through an orientation period and outlining of objectives, mainly how to get the system off accredited probation. Live in the newsroom, Edward Birch, ABC 3340.
All right, thanks, Edward. And for a recap, election results and candidates facing a runoff, go to abc3340.com.
Well, now a developing story. A Birmingham man is speaking out after animal control picked up his dog and it died on the way to the shelter. Now, the owner believes that summer heat may be to blame. ABC 3340's Haley Westbrook shares his concerns and the animal shelter's side of the story.
That's 15 years of our lives. So.
That's how long Venus was part of Brad Sparks' life.
She was always just a member of the family.
But Thursday afternoon, everything changed. BJC Animal Control picked up Venus shortly before 1.
Wasn't anything shocking, and I knew that she frequently got out of the fence.
But for Sparks, what happened next was
Venus just did not make the truck ride.
Sparks says his wife called Animal Control within 15 minutes of the pickup to express concern about her age and a previous injury. She was told that if any dog is injured, there would be an early trip to the shelter, but the truck didn't return until shortly after 3.
So no dog should be suffered in August heat in Alabama and be driven around in a metal box for 3 hours. I don't think for an hour, especially when we live 3 miles from the shelter.
The truck has fans and water for the animals, but no AC.
And if we had it to do over again and we knew that the outcome was going to happen, obviously we would try to get a dog like that in sooner. But
veterinarian Nicole Metcalf couldn't tell me if the shelter had received the concern call, but did say the officer who picked her up has a lot of experience working with animals and that Venus did not appear to be in distress, although she was panting.
We impound anywhere from 10 to 12,000 animals a year. We don't have this happen very often.
In Jefferson County, Haley Westbrook, ABC 3340.
Well, the dog owner wants more animal control regulation. BJAC's policy is that animals cannot be in a truck for more than 4 hours. The other animals in the vehicle made it to the shelter alive.
A dozen men indicted in a multi-state dogfighting raid say they're not guilty. The men entered the pleas Wednesday in federal court in Montgomery. All are charged with conspiring to sponsor dog fights or training animals for fights. 11 of them also face gambling charges. Investigators seized 367 pit bulls in raids in Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi.
The family of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. paid tribute to his I Have a Dream speech. It was at the same spot where he delivered the iconic address 50 years ago. At the center of the ceremony was the original bell from the 16th Street Baptist Church that was bombed just weeks after King's speech, killing 4 young girls.
Closer to home, First Presbyterian Church also commemorated the 50th year anniversary of the March on Washington. The church's carillon played Lift Every Voice and Sing this afternoon. Well, many people chose to reflect on the march at Birmingham's iconic landmarks.
ABC 3340's Marissa Mitchell is live from one of them, Kelly Ingram Park. And Marissa, you met people from all races and all generations who shared why this anniversary is important to them.
Dave, while walking through the park, I actually ran into a foot soldier, one of the original foot soldiers, and that term, of course, is for people who, during that time, marched for racial and social equality. For them, they say it's not only a historic day, but it's one that's deeply personal for them. Walter Whitlow, he marched in rallies in Birmingham, and he shared his experiences, including when he was jailed for his participation. I also met Clifton Casey, another foot soldier. Casey was actually in Washington, D.C. when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famed I Have a Dream speech. That speech illustrating a world where race won't matter. And that's the message we heard from people of all races, all creeds who were inside the park today. In fact, I met a man all the way from Utah who says King's dream transcends all boundaries.
I think Martin Luther King was a very, very influential person, obviously, but also that he did a lot of things I think God commanded him to do. I think without people like this, like our country would still be at serious odds.
And I spoke with an executive at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, which is right across the street, and she says this area has seen a record number of visitors, and they are expecting even more people to come into the city of Birmingham during next month's Empowerment Week. In Birmingham, Marissa Mitchell, ABC 3340.
All right, thank you, Marissa. Still to come, the Labor Day weekend is quickly approaching. What you need to know before you hit the road.
And we continue to pay tribute to the March on Washington. We take you inside the celebration at Dr. King's Church in Montgomery. Stay with us. You're watching ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.